Au revoir, amiga. That's my Venezuelan French that me and Jared came up with. It's a little bit Spanish and a little bit French. For I am El Duro. Hola, chica. Je suis El Duro, Spanish conquistador. Je suis très drôle. Adios, mon ami. So basically, these are my journals that I kept during my teen years, like high school, and through, this one goes all the way to the end of the summer of 2002. So, I mean, most of these journals are all honestly about like how in love with Jared I was and how I basically felt like he didn't have the same feelings for me when, in fact, I've recently learned that he did. We met in high school. We actually, when we met, he was dating one of my really good friends at the time, named Jen, and I ended up having a crush on him while he was dating her. And then after they broke up, we had started hanging out a lot more, and that's when like I wanted him to date me, but he kept dating like all these other girls.
You know, every time that I had dated somebody who she clearly knew wasn't right for me, Sarah would tend to intervene and, you know, would basically force me to break up with those people. And she was always right about that. Whenever
he would date a new girl, I would always like find like something wrong with them to where like he needed to break up with them because I wanted him to be with me. And, you know, we were really good friends, so he always took my advice because I was like, at the time, you know, that friend that gave good advice. But he never actually ended up dating me until like, I think a year or two later. And that was only for like a week. I couldn't help but smile during my concert. It wasn't half bad. My mom and grandparents were there, and Jared too. I felt so rotten when I had to get my picture taken with him because Tara was there. I just know how she feels right now, I really do. Jared gave me a kiss on the cheek for good luck. I don't know what is going to happen tomorrow. I'm expecting the worst, so I'm all set. It's not gonna kill me if he dumps me. Yeah, it'll suck, but oh well, that's life. I hope he doesn't though. I love him so much. Dude, he's the first boyfriend I had that I care about. And I actually have that picture.
I don't specifically recall at the moment like why we broke up, but I do recall that even though we did break up and, you know, we weren't together, that, you know, it was one of those things that even though we weren't boyfriend and girlfriend, that we were two of those people who were just really connected to each other.
Hey, I'm over it, the whole Jared thing. So I had fun today. Jared came over and we went to McDonald's for lunch, and then we went to my house and we watched American Pie and played cards. My mom was worried about us doing it. Don't worry, we didn't. We wrestled on my bed and goofed off. Then when the movie was almost over, we were laying together on my bed. Back to the pool. Next thing I know, we were under the boat and we were getting close and we were kissing. Then we broke away, and like a minute later, we were hardcore making out, and he was triumphing me and everything, feeling me all over. It was just what I needed too. Oh man, it felt so good, especially after 8 months of nothing. And my mom came outside, so we had to stop. We were going at it for about 5 minutes, and damn, I want some more, maybe next weekend, we'll see.
You know, it wasn't until sometime later, you know, when it came to her graduation party, you know, a mutual friend of ours invited me along. That's when we connected together for the summer of 2002, which was probably one of the more defining moments in our relationship.
I haven't told anyone this, but everyone thinks either me and Jared were a couple, are a couple, or should be a couple. And I, for a while now, have thought of us as he's my ex-boyfriend and I'm his ex-girlfriend.
That summer in 2002, for me, really was where I really truly fell in love with her. You know, head over heels, like, so far in love with you, I don't know what to do. I lived at her house the entire summer. We were with each other all the time, and, you know, swimming and just watching TV and just hanging out, listening to music and just being a part of each other's lives. And, you know, it became a time where, you know, I was single, and, you know, I was looking around for someone to spend part of my life with at that point. I just came to the realization, you know, at that point in my life that I wasn't willing to lose a friend, somebody who meant as much as Sarah did to me. You know, potentially complicate things with a relationship. And, you know, because of that, decided that, you know, it was in our best interest in the relationship. I actually set her up at that point with a friend of mine, who she had a relationship with for the better part of 6 years. So Sarah and I hadn't talked for several years. We'd lost touch with each other, and primarily we're just friends on Facebook. We didn't talk very often, and every once in a while I'd go through and like one of her pictures, but for the most part we didn't really speak.
We reconnected through Facebook. He had posted a status about not wanting to go to the bar alone, and I was like, hey bro, I go to the bar alone all the time, like why don't we hang out? And he messaged me back and he was just like, yeah, that sounds cool, here's my number, text me.
I sent her a text and she sent it back, and we started talking and decided that we were going to go out that night. We were going to go have a drink together.
I honestly actually didn't think he'd actually show up. Like, I was nervous that when I was texting him that he wasn't going to go and come through. He was taking forever to respond to me. But then he ended up meeting me out in Mystic at the Harp and Hound to see my friends play.
It was my first time kind of going out in quite a long time, and at that point it was just me reconnecting as friends again and having an opportunity to go hang out with somebody and just talk about things.
I was a little nervous to see him. I wasn't sure what to wear at first. I was like, do I wear something low cut so I look really good, or do I just dress casual? And I was like, I'm just gonna go with the friend thing. We haven't seen each other in a while. We're just friends. I'm just gonna dress normal. So I just had a baseball tee on, some jeans, and
a lot of the feelings of when I was in love with her and stuff came flooding back really quickly.
But it was really good to see him. We talked for a little bit, and I kind of had a little bit of feeling come back where I was like, oh, I used to have such a big crush on him, and it's really fun seeing him again, and I missed my old friend.
After we got done, we had a couple of drinks, and we were deciding what to do with the rest of the night. I suggested going back to her place to watch TV.
After that, we hung out at my house and watched Archer for a little bit. He'd never seen Archer, and I was like, seriously, bro? So we watched that and laid on the couch. I ended up falling asleep.
The hours started to tick by, and it was 1 and 2 and 3 o'clock in the morning, and it kept getting later and later and later.
And then I woke up and he was like, oh, I better get going, so.
A large portion of me wanted to say, I could have just stayed there and just laid on the couch and wrapped my arms around her and just stayed with her forever at that point.
That was the end of that night, and then it kind of just went from there, where we started hanging out more. He proposed at Bluff Point. It was January, but it was a really nice day, felt like spring. So he's like, we should go outside and, do something. And I was like, all right, yeah, sure. We should take the puppy for a walk. And he was like, oh, I was thinking the same thing.
We went for a walk for quite a while up to the trails, and her and I and the dog. And the entire time I had the ring in my pocket and just hoping that I'd have an opportunity to do it. We got all the way down towards the end, and there was this gigantic mud puddle.
And we got to this big muddy part in the trail, and I was like, oh, F this, I'm not walking over that, let's go back.
I could see just beyond that there was an area where the trees all cleared out and the sunshine was coming through, and there was a beautiful area to sit and just green trees and grass, and it seemed like the perfect place to do it.
He was like, no, come on, we have to keep going, I'm taking the dog, you follow me. And
I grabbed the dog and kind of ran along the side of the dirt and kept moving.
I was like, oh, all right. So we walk out past the trail, and there was this opening.
She followed behind me, and I got there, and we sat down, and we were close together, and we started talking. And
we were just joking around. Actually, I said something like, look, we're all alone out here. We could go down behind those trees and do it, and no one would see us. And he made another joke.
She took her hand, she slapped me on the knee, and I said to her, if you hit me and if you mean to me like that, you're not going to get beautiful things like this. And then I got down on one knee and pulled the ring out and proposed to her and told her how much I loved her and asked her to spend the rest of my life with her. And she couldn't believe it at first.
And I was just like, oh my God, is that real? Is this really happening? Are you really proposing right now? And are you serious? I just kept asking him if he was serious.
Part of the reason why she had asked, the question of whether it was serious or not was because weeks before this, multiple amounts of times, I had went through and I had basically fake proposed to her.
He kept trying to trick me all weeks before.
We were walking one time through JCPenney and they had this whole ring set up, little display by the jewelry counter with all the Fabergé rings and the Cuber zirconias, and I grabbed one of them and in the middle of Macy's got down on one knee and set it up to him and was like, "Will you marry me?" You know, and multiple times I'd done that where I was busting on her and trying to throw her off the scent of things. So, you know, it was every reason in the world for her to question whether that was actually real, which, you know, really made it special, it made it unique, and really, really surprised her.
You know, finally, once I stopped shaking and being all nervous and, you know, realizing it was real.
You know, when it finally sunk in that I was really doing it, proposing to her, she, you know, threw her arms around me and said yes, and put the ring on her finger, and she cried for a while, and, you know, we hugged, and it's just a real tender moment.
It was just really romantic and nice.
I'd had the ring with me for several other occasions for the previous couple of weeks, looking for the right moment, and, you know, when we were there and when I looked into her eyes, I just knew that that was the time and that was the place, and everything felt right.